You like my new glasses?
Fancy, fancy. Can you see us though?
Fancy. I can see you, mate.
All right, well, that means they're doing their job.
Be pretty. They
How are
blue.
they? Yeah, they're blue, and they're actually big frame for my big head. And I'm all prepared. Got my Superman mug right here.
Yeah.
My blue Superman mug.
Okay.
Some tasty coffee. And I've also got a blue tongue.
Well, how'd you pull that off? Jolly
What you been
Ranchers?
eating?
You know,
Pixie
you guys
sticks.
have, yeah, no, you can keep going if you want. No, it's actually something called methylene blue. You guys ever heard of that?
Sounds familiar.
Sounds familiar?
I've actually been hearing quite a bit online about it. Well, let me say this. I've heard it mentioned a lot. I don't know a lot about it. How about that?
You heard like sheep herd or, you know?
Yeah. Blue sheep.
Yeah,
Blue sheep.
there you go.
Those the ones you count at night?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so I started taking and like you, Kyle, let me just say this. Within the last probably less than a month or so, one of our buddies in our fellowship, he brought some to my house and he was talking about it. I was like, what? And then he started talking about it, saying how it was this industrial dye, and I guess it maybe still is used for dyeing blue jeans and different things like that. And I'm looking at him going, and this is something we're supposed to put in our body? And then come to find out, I looked it up, and methylene blue has been around, I guess, close to, if not 800 years, a little bit longer than 100 years. And I don't know where,
I thought you said
something.
800.
I thought that too.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. 100 years within the last
One.
100 years. Yeah, 100
Okay.
years. They found out that there was medical benefits to it. I was like,
So you've done all the research on that yourself, because
yeah,
I've heard
yeah.
that there are benefits to it, but you hear
Well, I
about
mean,
all these trends and stuff people do on social media, and you're just like, okay. What's the new thing this month? So,
Mhm.
but
some of the things about it. I mean, it says it can be used as a pain reduction. So some studies have shown that methylene blue may reduce post-operative pain when administered before anesthesia, providing another potential area for its uses in clinical studies, or I'm sorry, clinical settings. Let's see, it's used for antidepressant, antimicrobial properties, cognitive enhancement. This study suggests that methylene blue can improve cognitive function and memory, especially in individuals with cognitive impairments. It enhances mitochondrial function and blood flow in the
it
brain,
ain't
which can
working.
lead. Yeah, I know, right? You better take more. Take more. Forget the dropper. Let's just turn the bottle up.
Oh boy.
It
Well,
says which can
all
lead.
right. So you got a lot of medical, but like, what are you? Well, I don't know if you want to share that or not. Like, but like, I'm curious what you're taking it for, and have you noticed any difference? I guess that's what I'm curious about.
The mitochondrial part of that, where it helps with the oxygen, or how your body functions with the oxygen within the cells. So one, yeah, for the brain, yeah, it's good. It's good for brain fog or any of that, stuff going on. Matter of fact, they said a lot of people who've had traumatic brain injuries, they have put them on the methylene blue, which has had great results in bringing back their memory and being
Nice.
able to function again and stuff like that. I think the biggest thing that I've pulled away from all this,
Maybe I should have let you finish reading, because what you just talked about, like, that's super important.
Mhm.
If
oh,
you can
absolutely, yeah,
oxygenate the blood and oxygenate the cells, like, you're gonna build new cells a lot faster and healthier
yes.
cells. So, like, that can be beneficial for literally any health issue whatsoever.
Oh, it's like the other one in here, and I don't even know how to pronounce this one. Methemoglobinemia. It's something to do with, it says a
Meth
condition
for
where
short.
yeah,
Yeah.
no,
And YouTube's
it
taken down.
says
Yeah.
right,
Don't do meth, kids.
no. It says a condition where hemoglobin cannot effectively release oxygen to tissues. It acts as a reducing agent that converts methemoglobin back to functional hemoglobin, thus restoring oxygen carrying capabilities. So, one of the benefits I've seen immediately is when I work out. And I've heard multiple reports of this, people who doing, like, I like doing heavy, intense, powerlifting. I feel like I'm in my 20s again,
Hmm.
Really?
working out, oh, it's, just everything just I don't know, I think for the overall health now, I would have never guessed that something they were using as an industrial dye would have all the health benefits, and there's a lot more, but the antimicrobial properties too, it says a range of, its effects against a range of pathogens, including resistant strains of bacteria. The effectiveness actively may lend itself to applications in treating infections, including malaria and other parasitic diseases.
Hmm.
So that's the other thing I heard about,
Huh.
like, if someone had malaria and they were taking methylene blue, it's like it was within a matter of time, it was just completely gone,
Hmm.
completely, healed from it, so
Well, how
but
long have
let me
you
s
been taking it?
I've been taking it now, I think I'm on my 3rd week. I
And
think
you
I'm on my
can you
3rd week.
can well, obviously,
Oh, I
you said
could
you feel like you're working out, you're in your 20s now, so, like,
yeah.
you can definitely
Well,
notice a
alright,
difference.
I'll give him early 30s with no
Okay.
20s yet. You're like,
Now the tea
everybody's
comes
gonna be
out.
it's gonna be buying it off the shelf. I'm about to go when we finish, I'm about to go and, buy some stock in methylene blue real quick. But, so, the health benefits of it. Now here's the thing, guys, if you do try it, Kyle, Jonathan, just make sure you buy one that has been third party tested for metals and different things, because you're not
Okay.
actually taking the industrial
Right.
version
Die.
of this. You're
Yeah.
actually taking one that's, the one I'm taking is a pharmaceutical grade. So it's been looked at by a third party company, and, 'cause I didn't realize that was something you had to look for was the metals. And so some of our other friends are now taking it, and I told them the same thing. Make sure whatever you buy has been certified, and at least because the last thing you want to do is put something in your body that's supposed to be beneficial, then you got a bunch of extra metals
Right.
Right.
that's not going to do you any good
Yeah.
down the road. So yeah, and you could take it. Like I know my tongue's blue. I like just putting the drops right underneath my tongue twice a day, and but you can put in water, you can put in any liquid you want to, stir it up and drink it that way if you like to.
So you got a weird
Um,
taste or anything?
it at first has a little bit, but nothing. Yeah.
Not
Hmm.
And
crazy.
then what I do, whenever I do, a lot of times when I do it in the morning, I just drink it with hot coffee, which gets the blue off the teeth. When I tell you your mouth is blue, it's like, yeah, it's kind of fun to when the grandkids are over and I'm going,
Now,
Well,
are
know,
you're
there I'm sorry, go ahead,
no,
Jonathan.
yeah. Well, I was just wondering because you were talking about with the water, and I remember now that we've been talking about it, is this? I mean, I'm sure it's a different grade and and a different formula, or whatever. But this is the same stuff they would use like for aquariums, right? With the blue that would kill
yeah,
out like the bacteria and
the
the parasites in
bacteria.
the
Yep,
fish.
It's
yep,
all
So
it falls.
exactly.
So I mean, at the end of the day, it's already been proven in a different application for aquariums. Like
Yeah,
it's
bacteria, yeah.
yeah, bacteria and parasites out of
Fungus
out
and
of
mold.
fish and bigger fish as in the water itself. So that's very interesting. Now obviously, if Joe didn't say this already, not medical advice. Don't do this because he said so or I said so. You look it
Nope.
Yeah.
up. Do what you want for your own self. Consult with somebody else, not me or him. But
Yeah,
these are the facts that we found.
I
yeah.
do have do you know of any, like, adverse side effects or anything like that that you've
Blue.
read about?
Um, yeah, I can read it off. I got something pulled up right here. It says
Yeah.
safety and side effects. It says while methylene blue is generally safe when used appropriately, it can cause side effects such as a blue discoloration of urine, which I've already experienced the first day.
Okay.
Gastrointestinal upset, which I haven't experienced any of that,
Mhm.
and potential interactions with medicines that raise serotonin levels. I don't take any other medications, so I'm good with that. That's why what Jonathan said, we're not doctors. So if you're going to take this, consult your doctor.
Yeah.
If especially if you're on high blood pressure medication, diabetes, anything like that, just make sure it's safe to take.
Yeah, I stopped at Masters,
It's
not a doctor.
yeah, there you go. It says
I play one on TV. Yeah.
with interactions with medications that raise serotonin levels, necessitating medical supervision prior to use. Patients with certain conditions, notably, I don't know what G6PD deficiency is, should avoid methylene blue due to risk of hemolytic anemia. So, but it's been around for 100 years. Mostly, I think it's probably, if I had to guess, it's like a 98. 99% safe for most people to take, and,
Hmm.
um, yeah, so I'm giving it a shot, giving it a try, and
Now, is
yeah,
this one of those
so,
like purely pharmaceutical things, or is this one of those things that's natural but has been processed through pharmaceutical means or something? Like what
I
you know?
could not tell you that one at all. I don't
Okay,
know.
I'm curious. It's just
Yeah,
it's the
I
new
know what
hot
you're
thing
saying.
everybody's jumping on. So I don't know,
Right, right, and
but
it is one of the it's been around for 100 years, but it is one of the things recently from a lot of, YouTube influencers that are now got their own product and their own brand on of it, and,
mm.
so coming soon to a to Anchor to Truth, our own methylene blue.
Right. What
It's
can
also
blue
good it's
do
good
for you?
Right,
yeah,
right.
it's also good for dyeing your zits
Yeah.
the proper blue.
Hey,
It wasn't
nice.
snail shells, it was methylene blue.
That's it.
Right. That's fantastic.
So,
But yeah, no, that's interesting because you said you just put it in the water for the most part, and and you see people with results. You always like, hey, results may vary, which is always funny because God's like, I made all you humans, and you're all made in my image, but you're all completely different. So watch out. But what else they were putting in the water? What I was reading recently was in Florida. They were talking about, and I think they just recently passed it, where they're going to be removing fluoride from the water. So
mhm,
you guys are
Mm,
talking about add methylene blue. These guys are taking the added fluoride out. So it's like,
nice.
it's interesting to see people are actually taking the time and saying, what are we supposed to be putting in our bodies? Fluoride, toxic waste, junk that they couldn't even sell and give away. What do we do with it? Throw it in the water. And now they're like,
Right.
well, let's not do that anymore. That's a bad idea. Like this has almost been proven now to have negative and adverse effects. So Florida is going to be the second state that's officially banned it after
Nice.
Utah. So Utah was the first state.
mm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, hopefully that becomes a
Any
nationwide
updates
thing.
on, Jonathan on South Carolina?
I know that a lot of states are mulling it. It's the same thing with the super air quotes, and air was intentional geoengineering. So it's out there. They're talking about it. Supposedly they can't ban something that doesn't exist, but it exists and they're banning it already.
Right.
And yeah, South Carolina is on
Yeah,
the list for geoengineering, which then is also going to start to go into the route with Robert Kennedy. He's talking about the Make America Healthy Again, and so they're starting off with the geoengineering, the chemtrails, and then the fluoride in the water and the different dyes in our food. So they're already working on these processes, but to see it already taken action and like, hey, we have a choice. Here's the fluoride. Just don't put it in. Like it wasn't like
Right.
it's already in there and they got to have this new process to take it out. It just was
Right.
never in there. They had to add it. So I love the fact that there's like, let's just not do it at all and then see what happens. And because you already got issues. You remember the whole thing with Flint, Michigan, with like lead in the water and all these boil
mhm.
advisories all over the world. And like, here, let's dump more junk in there, and let's see what that does.
Oh, have y'all heard about that
No,
in the news? The Flint, Michigan thing?
no more new stuff.
Oh yeah, like brand new, like hot off the press. Like so Trump has come out and publicly stated that they know emphatically that the bad stuff that happened there with the water
Hmm.
was intentional. It was an inside job, and they are in deep, thorough investigation. And
Mm,
everyone who is implemented on that in that whole situation is going to be facing death penalty. Like that
Wow,
was something he said publicly. That's all
wild.
crazy awesome news, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, and the reason why it was such a big deal was, they were saying it's actively negatively affecting the people, right? It
yeah,
wasn't like, oh, it's got a bad taste, or oh, you might get dysentery, or you might get an
right.
upset stomach. Yeah, okay, I can deal with that. You know what I mean? You might get some bacteria, and you go take a pill or some shots, you'll be fine. This is like, no, you're gonna have permanent brain damage, permanent,
right.
like damage to your genes and your cells. And they were saying the same thing with this fluoride. It says research has showed that exposure to fluorinated water or fluoridated, whatever the word is
Fluoridated.
there,
Yeah.
Mm,
during pregnancy is associated with increased neurobehavioral problems in children and federal review. So not just some random guy that was out there with a beaker. Federal review concluded that higher levels are linked to with lower IQ in children.
Mm.
So, I mean, as you know, at a certain point, let's go down the conspiracy corner. Is this an intentional, purposeful choice to dumb down the population so they can't fight and argue and complain and understand hey, this looks dumb, but I don't know what to do about it.
How can it not be?
Yeah, right. And it's toxic waste on top of everything.
I'm curious. So I know they've been putting it in the water for years and years and years throughout the entire country, right? And unless you're on well water, and even if you're on well water, you have something called ground seepage. Stuff gets in the ground and it can get into the water system. But it makes me wonder, like, with these water treatment plants. I mean, I ain't trying to be gross, but I mean, facts are facts. The water you use to take a shower in, and the water you use to brush your teeth with, and you use to cook with. If you are using city water, that is water that has been reused and reused and reused and reused umpteen million times by anybody and everybody in that area. That water just gets recycled through a water treatment plant. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Good
everything
stuff.
you've ever flushed down the toilet, that gets,
Hey.
that's part of it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and Alex Jones did this big thing a long time ago, and the internet made fun of him, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
legit about turning the frogs gay. You remember
Mm-hmm.
that?
Mm-hmm.
Talking about all the hormones and stuff that was being put in the water. Well, once it gets out into the open or whatever, there was enough hormones left over that the frogs were literally changing their sex or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like that's in the treated water,
Right.
Yeah. Oh, it's
So
treated all right.
meaning
Treated with everything.
it's supposedly cleaned from all that stuff. So if these hormones or stuff are bypassing the treatment facility, making its way past there, I mean, I know they can get out most bacteria and stuff like that, but is there any beneficial properties left to this water at the end of that process? Number one,
Oh,
and
yeah.
because it's got to kill everything off, right?
It's wet.
Two, I know, right? Two, if it's got all these hormones and stuff still in it, not only hormones, but there are people that are failing drug tests because there's drugs in their system from drinking water.
Yep.
It makes me wonder, are they ever going to be able to get all the fluoride out?
I mean, they have to eventually, I'm
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
But
I think fluoride, I'm not an expert on it, but I think fluoride does have a shelf life of, of so
Mhm.
long before it's no longer good for anything. So,
Same thing with like the
but
chlorine in the water. Like if you just leave it out on the counter, it'll eventually.
yeah, the sunlight will actually dissipate it or whatever. But
Mm.
you guys probably didn't have this. Cal, I know you're a little bit older, but than Jonathan. But I remember when I was in elementary school, there was a thing where we actually we were given fluoride
Hmm.
when I was in the 4th grade. Yeah, 4th grade. And it was like once a month. I forgot how often we would do it, but the teacher had one of those little pump up things, where you get one squirt would fill up one of those little cups,
Mm-hmm.
and we would do a fluoride rinse in class. They would literally, it was a bottle of fluoride stuff. They do one pump in there, and they pass it all to all the kids. We put it in our mouths, we swish it around, and you're supposed to spit it back out. And I know they did this on purpose. It actually tasted good.
Hmm.
So the majority of kids just swallowed it. They didn't even like spit it back out.
I've literally never thought of that until you just brought that up. But yeah, I do remember having that done at least 1 year as a child.
Yeah, it was the only year. It was the 4th grade year for me in elementary school. So
They used to give it those at the
Wow.
dentist as a part of our
yeah,
every 6 month cleanup. And then eventually they got to that like pasty stuff they'd put in the tray, and you just stick the whole thing in your mouth and just leave your teeth in it, and then they pull the whole tray back out so you didn't swallow it.
And think about it, and this is after you've had your teeth cleaned, so you've got, gums that are cut or whatever, you got open
you're
wounds in there, so
exposed.
it's literally getting in your bloodstream directly.
Mm. And then you get the fluoride toothpaste,
Mhm.
so that way you get it every day, morning and night, depending on, hopefully you brush your teeth at least once a day.
at least once,
Yeah.
minimum.
Wow.
But if so, we're talking
Yeah.
about fluoride, right? And I mean, it's obviously in the water, it's in our toothpaste, it's in these mouthwashes and stuff. And now, the new trend is fluoride free, aka we didn't just add it. It's
Right.
like like it's not like we've come up with this new formula called healthy. It was like, no, we just stopped putting the poison in your stuff.
Right. We stopped putting
Yeah.
this poison in your stuff. Yeah.
Right. But
Yeah.
what's hilarious is, and I went and looked it up one day and I forgot now the numbers, but the amount of money that's spent on bottled water, whether it be, the little individual ones, the big 5 gallon ones, the amount of money you spend on Brita filters, Zero filters, Berkey filters, whatever those things are called, all these water filters, all these water treatments, the thing on your refrigerator, the little filter you put in your, the refrigerator nozzle, the the one you put on the sink and it's to turn it on and off and stuff. There how much money is involved in just water cleaners
Yeah.
because the water that's safe from
Yep.
the government, then you have to turn around and buy more stuff to make it better than the safe it was when it came into your house. It's like
Mhm.
sometimes it makes you wonder. You have a whole job to make sure the water's clean so we don't die from stupid stuff and get bad health results, and then we the consumer have to turn around and pay for that water, pay our taxes to keep that facility running, and then buy all the filters over again anyway because it didn't work.
Hmm.
And then I feel bad for people. They're like, I can only drink bottled water, and you're like, that's a huge money making business because it's the same filtered water that maybe they
Coming
do
out
a
of
little.
tap.
But even then, now you got it covered in plastic, so now you're getting the microplastics on top of all
Yep.
the junk in the water. It's like,
Yep.
how do I win? And well or rainwater, which that's illegal to collect water out of the sky.
Right.
So
Right. In a lot of places. Yeah.
it's like,
I don't know if I'd
sheesh.
wanna collect water out of the sky anymore anyway, the way
Yeah, that's
with
true.
Right.
all the stuff that's in the air. Hey, here's something for you. Now this is from 2017. Okay, so this is a minute back.
Okay, 8
I'm
years,
trying
still
to
still
find.
fresh.
Yeah, still fresh. Yeah, it's It says American. This is in 2017. It says Americans spend $16 billion a year on bottled water.
Yep.
That's
16
crazy.
billion dollars. And what's funny is a lot of these bottling companies,
Wow.
oh, ours is the best. Ours has minerals. Ours has. I'm like, and then they come to find out they do all these studies, and they're filling it up with literally tap water from the city, putting it in a bottle and selling it to you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
like, so
Unless it
you're
says it's distilled
Right.
right,
or distilled, and there's one
or
other. I think.
like
I think. I
spring
think if it,
fed or
it has to say that
something.
it's natural spring or whatever,
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
think they can claim it that way or whatever. But
Well, so I
yeah.
saw a Facebook reel the other day, and this guy was like, I forgot what happened, but I think he was a maintenance worker at Walmart that was like putting those little like machines they have by the exit where you can go fill up your bottles for water, and you're
Mhm.
like,
Oh, yeah.
oh, well, if you're filling up the bottle and you're paying extra, clearly this has got to be some top notch water. I mean, there's got to
Oh,
be
yeah.
something special,
Filtered, the whole 9
something,
yards.
a little squirt of
Yeah.
lemon at the end. I don't know, right? But something to make this water worth the extra time of carrying this heavy jug from outside to inside, back outside. So he was
And
doing maintenance. They had to move it. Somebody spilled some. I forgot how he got behind the machine. So he followed the pipe out of this special machine, and it was a separate pipe, but then it was connected into the regular water source for the building. Not
yep.
even like the water fountain one or like the special one for drinking water, just the regular water pipe.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, maybe they run it through a quick filter on the way in, but they were like, Walmart's Walmart. You're not getting anything special out of Walmart. You're getting not even tap water. You're getting pipe water.
Bro,
It
you
didn't
just
even
drink
go
it.
to the tap.
You drinking out of the hose and don't even know it, bro.
Exactly. We,
You
we can all
know,
go back
and
to
and
those days.
and here's the thing too is, the last administration was really pushing for the green, energy and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Here's something maybe they should have focused more on than trying to mine more lithium out of the earth. It says, the Americans purchased about 50 billion billion
hmm Billion.
50 billion water bottles per year. 50 billion. And it says 91%, let's see, I just had this up here. 91% of those bottles are never recycled.
hmm
So out of 50 billion, 91% are never recycled. And then it says worldwide, it's 481.6 billion water bottles. So almost half a trillion water bottles And I guarantee you in other countries, it's probably worse than, here. So
Yeah.
let's think about that. It says, yeah, it says 91% of the world's plastic bottles are not so out of almost a half a trillion, 91% of that is never recycled.
Mm.
And you're worried about, our diesel motors and our gasoline, cars and all that stuff. And you've got plastics literally going back into the ground that will take forever and a day to break down.
That
Or
well,
You
or
know,
worried about one of these.
yeah,
right, a
yeah.
plastic straw.
Dude, what blows my mind is,
That doesn't take much.
yeah, wow, that's true. It's crazy because even the people who do take the time to recycle their stuff, the
Yeah.
overwhelming majority of stuff that people put in their recycle bins never gets recycled. It
Right.
Nope.
it, it doesn't have to do with the consumer that's trying to that has the option to recycle or not to. It's these recycling plants literally aren't doing it, or the collection agencies. They're
Mm.
literally not recycling it. They
Yep.
pick it up in a different truck. They charge you for another can, but then they go and dump it. It
Well,
makes
Yeah.
no sense.
Yeah.
I have actual proof of this happening. So where my office is, you can clearly see there's a window. So when I would look out the window and watch the trash truck come, and when most weeks both trucks come, as Kyle says, they have a different sticker on each truck, so oh, that's the blue one. It's for recycles, yay! And the insides are more clean than the other one. Well, one day the second truck never came; it was just the first truck, and he picked up both cans, dumped it
Oh,
in there,
yeah.
and just kept on driving. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't think you can
Yeah.
do that. That's like, isn't that against the rules?
Even funnier. Even funnier. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, but I saw a video one time of where a guy was like filming. They had this camera, like on their second story of their house or whatever, and it filmed like the top of the recycling truck.
Mhm.
And the people who did the recycling, they're supposed to put out these different bins for different materials, right? And the recycling guy would come around and he would pick up each bin and put it, glass goes over here, plastic goes over
Oh,
here,
right,
and
right.
cardboard goes over here. So it's supposedly sectioned out. And it was even labeled on the side of the truck like it was sectioned out. But when you look at the top of the thing, it's just all open. It's just one big container where they're just dumping it in.
Yep.
They're just
It
getting
gives you
each
it's a
single
nice
one.
illusion, though. It makes you feel a little bit better when you're out there separating your plastics and everything else, like,
Right. Like, why are you
so
making
just
me do this?
Well, it's the same thing. There's
Unreal.
alright.
like three whole trash cans at the airport, and the one
Yeah.
guy took the lid off of it, and all went in the same bag.
It all went in the same bag. Yeah, make sure you put your cans in this one, your plastic bottles in
Yeah,
this one.
even
Yeah,
the holes are shaped. It's like a circle for the cans.
right.
Like make sure you
All
put
going
your
in the same
circle in
bag.
the circle, like we're like little elementary school kids. Learning our shapes,
That's
Alright,
circles,
check
rectangles.
check this out. So I was able to find a little bit of update to give you guys. So let's update the 2017 numbers. So it's $16 billion a year just in America, $16 billion a year in 2017. The more latest one I found was from 2022, and that number jumps to, where are you at? 94 billion.
Nice.
wow.
That's a
And
big jump.
is that just water, Joe?
Yeah, it says bottled water, just bottled water.
So that's
That's what
not
I looked up.
soda. That's not
No
tea.
sodas.
That's not Gatorades.
It
Wow.
says in the 2022, the bottled water is a $94 billion industry in the United States alone.
Industry.
So from 2017, what number did I give you guys? That was 16 billion
Hmm.
Hmm.
in 2017, and then in 2022, it's 94 billion.
Well, because
Wow.
people are starting to know that their water is no bueno.
Yeah.
But then what do they have to turn to? You can't go to the government and their official water source. So you're like, I don't know, buy it in a
Yeah.
bottle so then you can get the government stuff in a different shape.
Yeah. Do you want option A or do you want option A that you pay more for
Right.
in a more toxic container? That's crazy. Well, the other thing that ticks me off about that situation is the fact that we have technology right now that literally people can do at their homes. Like it's a such a simple technology where you could recycle plastic. I mean, what is plastic? What is
Petroleum.
Petroleum.
it's
It's
petroleum,
petroleum.
right? Like
Yeah.
so many of the things in our lives, right?
Yeah.
But plastic is petroleum. You can reverse engineer that stuff and turn it back into petroleum and use it as diesel fuel or gasoline. Like
Yep.
it can be used for that. It's not a difficult
Yeah.
process. Can you imagine the cost of fuel if we had plants designated to do that? It would be insanely low.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why we don't have plants designated to do that because
Right.
And how much
um,
better it would be for the earth as a whole.
oh, way
Like
better.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, there's a fellow on YouTube who's doing that, and he's taking literally recycled plastic, returning it back or returning it to fuel, and showing you like he's running a vehicle off of it. And I hate, and you know what's sad is all the comments were like, "Hey, great job." The majority of comments were, "Dude, you better watch your back."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the part that hurts your feelings a little bit. You're like, this guy's doing something good, and I'm not gonna lie, that was the first thing I thought too. They're gonna kill you, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not gonna allow you to all of a sudden patent or show people how, like you just said, Kyle, this guy's doing like in a backyard somewhere with rudimentary stuff.
Hmm.
And he's literally taking it from there, takes a separate hose, puts it into a separate container to show you this is going straight from here into the engine and it's running.
Hmm.
And instead of it being like, "Hey, great job. Hey, tell me more," the majority of the comments were like, "Man, watch your back."
Hmm.
And, and it was like, and that's sad because it's something that's very true that whenever someone brings something up that's very beneficial for the environment, very beneficial for all of us, now you got to worry about your life. I was like,
Well, Joe, how dare you?
Yeah.
But yeah, on the subject of water though, so like okay, in reality, if you guys are trying to like figure out what's the best way, so we talked about the tap water is probably not the best, the bottled water is probably tap water and even worse. So what's like what's a real life application that you guys have? Because I know what I'm thinking of, but what do you have like that you would use to filter water or like to fix this problem?
For the public as a whole or for
Yeah, for
myself
you, yeah,
privately?
yeah, either one. But what do you think we should do to like okay, at least alleviate the issue until they ban it in your states?
Um, well, I mean, I know not everybody has this luxury, but I mean, a long time ago, we made a decision to just get off of public water altogether.
Mm,
You
mhm,
know, we got to a place where we have well water.
yep.
So I mean, I think that's one huge step you can make in that direction.
what
Um,
about
Yeah. And
sorry, go ahead, Joe.
no, I was gonna say I'm on well water and we've been on it for about a year or so, but I am going to get a filtration system for my well water, mostly because of the sediment
mhm.
that you can pull is can be very bad for your like hot water heater and your pipes over, for a long period of time and stuff like
Lots of
that.
calcium deposits and stuff
Lots of
like that.
calcium deposits, stuff like that. But there is, and it's not very expensive. I think the one kit I looked at was like $500. Not that I'm saying $500 is, everyone can afford that, but there's a lot more expensive water treatment systems out there because I looked at
Oh
them.
yeah.
Believe me, I mean these big, huge, gigantic cylinders in your home, and but anyway, it goes through and it takes out a lot of the pesticides, like Kyle was saying. Living out in the country, and you have, my well probably is not exclusive just to me. The people up the road, we may be sharing the same pocket of water, and there's no telling what people are doing, from the fertilizers to how they dispose of their oil in their vehicles to everything that could potentially contaminate your well.
Yeah.
So there's some things that you can do from blue light. Also, blue light's used a lot now
Mm,
with water filtration, which is very inexpensive now. That cost has come way down. A lot of people are actually using blue light for their air conditioning, for their HVAC, for their homes, to purify the air and kill a lot of airborne bacteria and stuff like that.
Hmm.
mm,
So there's some things you can do to help, and then you have the special filters you can get for fluoride if you still are on city water, that will help pull the fluoride out and stuff. So there's ways,
There,
and some of them are very inexpensive to do. You can hook them straight to your sink, and get a lot of those chemicals and stuff out of your drinking water.
yeah, I mean, my only understanding is the best you can do is boil, distill, and filter. Like that's
yeah.
about it, you know.
Well, the one that I had researched, and I haven't done it yet because I would have to drill a hole in my countertop that's made of hard stone. But is that the
That
less
would be
bougie way to say that?
granite.
You
That would be
fancy. Yeah.
granite. Yeah.
I was like, how do I not bougie this? But so you have to drill a hole in it, but it's the reverse osmosis
Mhm.
water. And then like when you go buy like smart water and stuff like that, those ones that are like super crispy clean and all that, they distill it, then they reverse osmosis, or they do like the raindrop, or they steam it and all that kind of stuff. But supposedly the reverse osmosis is a way to like get it like the best you can easily at home. And it does just hook up into your plumbing. So you'd have
Mm,
like a little separate nozzle that comes out of your sink, and that water would come out as pretty much as clean as you're going to get with everything taken out. And it
Mhm.
depends on how many stages I think you can get like a 2-stage or a 3-stage, and the filters you have to replace every once in a while. But it somehow, I don't know the technology because I'm not a scientist or a doctor like we talked about earlier, but
But you did
supposedly
stay at a
that's
Holiday Inn.
I've been trying to upgrade. I'm still at the local motel, but
Oh, you're at the
I, d-
Motel 6?
I
the
don't
Motel
know what
3.
I don't know what osmosis is, let alone reverse osmosis.
Yeah, well, look it up. It's
Well,
been
its last
something that's
name
been
is
around
Jones.
exactly like the cartoon. Yeah, but it's been around for a while, and I know a lot of people are going that direction. And if you actually go and get
Mhm.
that good water from the store and you look on it, it'll say reverse osmosis on it. And that was that they just have a giant version of it where you
Okay.
can do it in your home on like a micro scale, and it's enough for your household. You're not gonna start selling it on the street or anything, but yeah, and that's a quick,
Yeah.
immediate way. I think a couple $100 is you can get it installed,
Mhm.
and you don't have to tap it into your countertop. You can just do its own little station or whatever. They even make like
Yeah.
standalone machines that do it now. So you just plug it into the wall, and it'll just take up some counter space.
Nice.
Yeah. So all
All
about
right.
trying to get that body healthy and
Well,
optimal.
the more you can get out of it, get literally out of the water,
Mm,
the better. I
which
mean,
is hilarious, right?
yeah, I know. You think the one thing in this world we should be able to drink without worrying
Right.
is the most abundant thing on this planet is water. And now we've got to filter it. We've got to reverse osmosis. We got to do, boil it. We got, it's like, good Lord.
Well, I mean, it's not just what you drink, but I mean, you cook with it.
Hmm.
It's
You say,
it's
well,
what you water your plants with, so it's going
yes,
into the food that you're eating.
yeah.
Your skin,
The largest
they
largest organ that you have is your skin.
that's
Hmm.
right. So it's constantly like your body is saturated with this stuff that is supposed to be beneficial to you, but has been turned into toxic waste.
Right. And I'll do you one even more. So the water already is a little bit of an issue. Now imagine if so a regular bottle of water, you can taste it. You're like, oh, this water is funny tasting, or it tastes like phosphorus or something, right? You would
Hmm.
know. What kind of water do you think they use for your sodas and your Gatorades, your energy drinks? You think they're
Oh,
using the high quality top H2O?
absolutely not.
Absolutely. I'm talking about premium. This is like from the Florida Everglades, like deep down in the
Oh, the
crystal
swamp water?
clear parts.
Right?
Yeah.
They're scraping the bottom. They're like, you know what? It's fine. Whatever. No one's gonna know. We're gonna cover it with 47 grams of sugar and bubbles. They'll be fine.
That's high quality H2O.
Exactly.
H2O.
But yeah, that was a rude awakening one
My
day.
mama said.
That's funny.
Is that if
Uh,
they're willing to give you water straight with junk in it, imagine what they're putting in your every other drink.
Yeah.
there's a comedian. I'm not going to mention his name. He kind of gets vulgar from time to time. But anyway, he was making this argument about there being a God, and he's like, he he said, there's absolute proof that there's a God because he give you the recipe to one of his creations and you can't make it. It's the only thing you know the recipe to, and you can't make it. H2O.
2-0.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Uh-huh. I
Yeah.
almost did my impersonation, but I cut it.
It would give it away too easy.
Yeah.
It's very unique.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh boy. Too
Well, it
funny.
seems like with what's going on in the world right now, the cat's out of the bag on a few things. And so when you look at uh James Comey, I think it was like
Sorry.
FBI director or something like that. Did you see that picture he posted with the seashells on the
Mm,
beach?
no,
Mm-hmm.
I
That's the
hadn't.
craziest thing I've ever seen. Like I did not know you were
Like,
allowed to do
why?
that. Okay, so
No.
it's
You
a
gotta fill me
picture.
in, bro.
It's like a rectangle picture, and he posted it on X or Facebook or something. I don't know where, but it's sand, and different color seashells, and it says 86, a little space, and then 47. Well,
The
it,
number 86 and then
yes,
the number and then the number 47.
yeah, 86 and then 47. So in terms of what 86 has been used for in the past, they try to cover it up with like, oh, it means cancel the order at Starbucks. No, come on, let's be realistic. These guys are high level government employees. They know what in the world 86 stands for. That means to take out, to eliminate, to remove in a full capacity of breathing. And 86, and then who are you 86ing? 47. Well, who
Yeah.
and what does 47 attach to anything and anywhere, anything right now? The
President.
current president and number 47 president.
Mhm.
Oh,
So
wow.
he literally comes out and in code that everybody figured out in 0 seconds, hey, this is what I'd like to happen. This is my bat signal or whatever. This is crazy. I did not know you were allowed to do that.
Yeah, you're not.
You're
That's
not
like
supposed to
that's
be.
that's calling for uh, uh of an individual. Like that's not cool.
Yeah.
Now it's very cryptic, right? So I mean, who knows if he'll ever actually be, and he says he found it like that too, right? He didn't
Oh.
do it. He says he found it like that. But the fact that he would put that up there. Now I have heard somebody make the argument that well, 86 just means we're like in the restaurant industry. It just means that we're out of it. No,
Hmm.
no. When you're out of something, the manager comes to you and says, "Hey, 86 carrots."
Hmm.
What that means is take it off the menu.
Right.
Make it so that it's no longer an option.
Mhm.
That's what it means.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean we're out of something. It
Right.
means take it off the menu so that
Yeah.
it's
Cross
not
it out.
it's not available to anyone.
Hmm.
Get rid of that option. That's what that means. So, yeah.
And James Comey is was the FBI director. Now,
So
if
it ain't
any
like he didn't know what those numbers mean.
right, if
Yeah,
anybody
yeah.
knows about secret codes and signals and signs and stuff,
Right.
pretty sure this the guy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, then what immediately happens? Secret Service takes him in. They're like, whoa, 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 threat alert. Hey, come on in for a meeting. We want to talk to you. We got some words to put in your ear, and we want to hear some words out of your mouth right now.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that he was taken in.
Oh yeah,
So, like, was
the
there
Secret Service
what
interviewed him. Yeah, it was
what
an immediate like right away.
any
Well,
updates on any of that or?
if there is, they're not going to post it right yet, and they're
I
gonna have to do
think
an
I would say I would think it'd be more of a reformation to him, like, reprimanding him, like going, "Hey, by the way, come on."
Reprimand?
Yeah, reprimand. Yeah, whatever you say. They went there to, tell him to stop. Like, "Hey,
Well, I
by the
mean,
way."
it's either
I
he's
don't
either
think
going to
I
get
don't
in
think
trouble
he
or he's
I don't
not.
think
There's not. This ain't going to be a
right.
slap on the
I
wrist. He's either going to be in trouble or he's not. Because I
Mhm.
mean, if he gets in trouble for it, I mean, you're literally threatening the life of a president, a
Right.
sitting president.
Well, and
Right.
and the problem is what it does is it galvanizes the people. So now people are taking this motto and they're like carrying it on with it. They're like walking around with 8647 flags and t-shirts and stuff. Like that's their new virtue signal for TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. They're like, you know what? Even though he is commander in chief, even though he's the leader that was voted in by the majority of the people, in hopefully legal
Yeah.
terms, you can't do that stuff. You
No,
cannot ever. There's no time where that's acceptable.
Right.
it's
Well,
probably going to be. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jay.
I was gonna say, think of any other president in our history that would have been acceptable to do that.
Right.
I can think
It's
of a
not.
few of them that if you would have done that or put that out there, it would have been like,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, it'd have been bad.
even hate speech or something like that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's.
You
So
know,
does
I,
any of them? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off again.
No, you're good. I wonder if it's a situation like this that is going to lead to something we don't want.
Hmm.
So, and what I mean by that is this. Um, yes, is it illegal uh to make threats like that to a sitting president or to even suggest it that someone else should do it or whatever? Yes, that doesn't fall into the category of free speech, right? But here's the problem. Even though we all know what those numbers represent, you can't prove it unless somebody admits that that's what it means.
Hmm.
And if there were 100 people lined up, all wearing the same shirt, you might could get one person to admit that that's what it means to them. But if the other 99 don't, well, then they're not liable. That's not what it means to me. It stands for, my aunt was born in 1986 and whatever, and, whatever, something like
Right.
that,
Yeah.
So you could make up anything you wanted to. So is this one of those things that they're going to use to potentially remove more freedoms, thought police kind of stuff coming into play?
Mm.
Yeah. It has a dangerous precedent for sure
Yeah,
because you're playing with the free will, free speech, First Amendment, Second Amendment, all that stuff. But then you're like, but at the same time, you actively can't go out and try and incite violence. It's like going into a movie theater and pulling the fire alarm or yelling,
right,
fire bombs. But there's certain stuff you don't do because of the
right.
damage it could cause. Well, galvanizing a crowd against a sitting president and and people, not everybody's good in the head, right? So somebody's gonna take that as like, oh, cool, I'll just do it. I want to be important. I want to be famous. I want my picture on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't implant thoughts in people's heads because then you're now responsible for that. If you are the reason somebody takes an action like that, then it goes back like, where'd
Mhm.
you hear that from? That guy. Oh, well, then that guy's in trouble too. You don't
Mhm.
you're guilty by association. But obviously we're not giving legal advice, but don't that's not something that we have to be careful for what we do and what we say. Now, Kyle, to your
Mhm.
point, super dangerous territory because you start getting into like martial law type stuff of like you can't this and you will not ever be allowed to do that. These words are now illegal, and in whatever context, 8 and 6 are next to each other. Even if you're talking about the year, the model of a car that the Toyota just came out with, it doesn't matter what. You can't even buy a 1986 vehicle anymore. It's going to be called 1980 and then five or VI, like Roman numerals or something.
Right.
It can get dangerous for sure. So you you got to let's watch that pendulum swing and try to hope you can land somewhere in the middle on that stuff.
Dangerous territory.
Yeah. Well,
Mm.
and
Yep.
it's like they're always like trying to like hide something. Like if you're James Comey and you just want to come out and say it, you can't. So then you're gonna try to some cryptic hidden message type stuff, which means you shouldn't have did it. You know what I mean? You shouldn't have
Right.
posted it. Well, so now we got more stuff coming out talking about hiding and government taking their own liberties on whatever. So come to find out, our ex president, the last one that was in office, number 46, a different one, he's got cancer. And they said it's very aggressive and has gotten into the bones. And come to find out, and everything's kind of speculation and hearsay now because, of course, the media wants to be on certain sides of the equation. That
Mhm.
this may have been before he was even in office, before he even was voted in to be president. So now we have, I mean, I don't know what better way to say this, just complete lies. If he's
Hmm.
fit, he's healthy, and he's ready to serve the office, they're like, he's probably had cancer the whole time, at least back to 2022. And
Wow.
it's bad enough where we're probably going to have unfortunate news in the near future, and it's going to be like this. It's almost like they're trying to cover for the last 4 years of like, oh well, that's why not now all this truth is coming out, and you got the auto pen, you've got all this stuff that's coming. He can't have a whole speech without messing up and falling all over the place. And they've even shown like he's had a special White House wheelchair kind of car thing, and they're like, oh no, it's a golf cart to help get from A to B.
Mm.
But there's just been more and more stuff coming out, and the media is getting a lot of flack for it because what else was it but a cover up? If they saw it, they heard it, they knew it, and didn't say
Right.
anything, then they're not doing their job. So yeah, Biden officially by public affirmation has pretty bad cancer
Hmm.
Mm.
and probably had it the whole time.
Well, I mean, this isn't the first cover up that's been done for a president. I mean, we had one that was, in a wheelchair, his term of presidency, but he was never shown in the public light like that.
Hmm.
We've had presidents that were cross dressers and everything else. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
wasn't Reagan on the whenever he was finishing out his last term, wasn't he like pretty much on some pretty major decline? And they were like, well, but he was so successful and did such a good job, they kind of like propped him up and allowed that last little bit to go over smoothly. Is what I
I think I
remember.
remember something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
Well,
I don't want to
there's
say
there's
absolutely.
some conspiracy around that. So They tried to take him out. They shot him in broad daylight.
Yeah, that did happen.
And if you, I'm sure Alex Jones has probably covered this, about how while he was in the hospital that they gave him some stuff that messed with his brain
Mm,
function. And
Mm,
so it put him on the decline all the way up until the end of his presidency. And then it has carried on to where, he was never the man that he was before. And a
mm,
lot of speculation around it has been when he was shot, something was he lived, you
mhm.
know, had the surgery. They were able to save his life from being shot, but that there's a good chance something was administered to him that should not have been and put him on the decline ever from there on. So yeah, it's a little who knows?
yeah, I
Yeah,
was kind of
well,
under the impression that he was, because he had some serious policy change.
mhm,
His ideology changed significantly after that situation. So, I mean, one can only conclude that the powers that be basically said, hey, you survived it this time, but we can get you if we want you. You're
right.
gonna play
Yeah,
ball our way or else. I'm pretty
yeah,
sure that's what happened with Reagan. But
Well, the
yeah.
other, yeah, I don't know, scary is a kind of a heavy word, but the other scary part about that is, the presidents are supposed to go under very scrutinizing health screens and, cognitive tests and stuff like that. And the word's cognitive. And so whenever they're like going through that whole process, if he had cancer, which we know for sure,
uh,
that was supposed to be reported. This is the elected leader that we are and it's kind of weird because, like, who wants to know all your medical stuff? You know what I mean? But when you're in a position like that, unfortunately, that's public knowledge. And Trump's like, "Yep, went to the medical, went to Walter Reed, passed with flying colors. Everything was normal, everything was correct." He's like, "The doctor told me I should lose a little weight, but other than that, I'm ready to go. I can." And with Biden, it was all like secret, kind of
hmm
hidden, and so that's something that is a responsibility owed to the American voter
yeah,
is who's your leader and what's their status, because can you make the decisions to run a country if you're unable to make the decisions around the country, and I think that was the biggest part of it. Was there's way more going on behind the scenes than some of us probably figured out a little bit of stuff. You're like, hey, right? That's not a word. We heard
yeah,
that on TV a few times. So you start to get some ideas of what's going on, but then you can't walk up the stairs. All right, hey, you know what? We've all tripped once, two, three, four times. Shouldn't be doing that on the national TV for the whole world to see.
yeah,
But the fact that it was known and willfully not shared, then that's a problem. And that's like Kyle was saying earlier, that sets a dangerous precedent, because who's to say we're not going to do that forever now? And now we're in the new age, hologram AI president. Sure, he's dead. You wouldn't even know. You know what I mean? You just give him a bunch of AI news conferences, put him in front of a green screen,
right.
done, easy.
Mhm.
Mm, 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 mm,
Is anything real anymore?
I am. See?
mm,
I don't know. All of a sudden, you lean back and you just fade out and come back in.
mm.
Well, it's like one of those press conferences that he did where he was talking, he's moving his hand, all of a sudden his whole arm went away.
Oh yeah, no, it was like through the
And then
microphone.
yeah, 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 and then it came back. I'm like, and you're literally being told, "Oh, nothing to see here, folks. No,
Right.
nothing to see here at all."
Yeah, I mean, there's speculation that a large portion of his presidency, or a large portion of his um, time in front of the camera was somebody else pretending to be him. You know,
Uh,
and there's actually a dude that has a YouTube channel that does a lot of that, like with celebrities and just public figures, where he compares facial features and like mixes it in
mhm.
together. And yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sold on all of them, but some of them I'm like, "That's pretty good," but some
Yeah,
not all
yeah.
of them I'm, like, sold on. I'm like, "I don't think so, bro."
Yeah, some of
But
them seem like a stretch to me, but there's some of these folks that, I mean, he's lining up not only the facial structure, like how everything perfectly lines up, but hairlines, have your hairline, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, everything lines up properly. Your teeth are the same, whatever. And then like scars and moles and stuff like that. It's like
yeah,
it's just a little,
birthmarks, all that stuff, yeah.
yeah, it's just a little too close for some of those to not be the case.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
So
and I would say this, if more than half of what he's showing is true, I'm like, man, there's so much more trickery and
Dude, if
just
even one
stuff
is
going
true,
on that right.
that means it's
right.
an option.
Yeah. So I was like, it's like I said, some of them are like pretty like I'm like, man, that's you know what's cool about that though, Kyle, is what he did was because a lot of people say, oh, well, you can do that with anybody's face. He's like, so he literally took his face and someone else and put them up the same size and pulled him in. He says, "Look, the alignment of the eyes, the alignment of all this." He says, "You can't just take any random face and slap it together and it's going to work
Right.
perfectly."
Right.
Yeah, so he showed you that. So when he meshes these faces together, from the jawline, the nose, eye, I mean, like you said, ears, everything like comes in a little too. It's almost too perfect.
Hmm.
So just something to think about. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, and have you seen those like those ultra realistic like silicone masks that people are wearing?
Yep.
So
dude,
those are what's creepy to me because that could be anybody for any reason. You don't even
anybody,
Yeah, you don't even have to be the same nothing. You could be 100%. You could be a different color. You know what I mean? Like, and literally, you just put a little makeup around the eyes where that little. I mean, it's like this much that's
I
showing
know,
through, and like it even goes like on your eyelids. So when you blink, like the thing is blinking. It blew my mind to see like these people saying, "Hey, I've got like 10 of these," and they put on the Keanu Reeves mask, they put on the Britney Spears mask, and you're just like, I wouldn't know if I mean now granted if you were up close and personal you could touch feel the warmth isn't going to be there the hairs and the pores or whatever but like they're getting already so good that the eye test fails and then unless
mhm.
you would be there
Oh
in
yeah,
person and physically get tangible on him like that's scary in and of itself and then you just add a little computer touch up on it you're done we're toast
yeah.
for people we only got two eyes we don't have a third one to figure that out.
So all right. Now technology being what it is, like I have to jump in on this subject because I remember something that was really cool. So let's see. George W. Bush. Let's see.
George W.
Um,
It's from Texas.
George
From
Bush Senior.
Texas.
Not
Oh,
excuse me.
different.
George H.W. Excuse me. Herbert Walker. Yeah. Let's see. He was the 41st president.
Not gonna do it.
Here we go. He served from 1989 to 1993. Okay,
Mhm.
as the president. Now, while he was in office, now all of the Secret Service had to be let in on this and all this stuff, right? But they
Mhm.
wanted to see just how convincing they could be. So there was a let's see, I believe it was a member of CIA or something like that that came in and she pretended to be a um, either one of the staff members or a reporter or something. She pretended to be somebody that she was not, and she had this realistic mask on. Yeah, former CIA disguise chief. The lady comes in wearing this mask and pretends to be this individual that the president knows very well. Now, this is somewhere between 1989 and 93, right? That was the technology then. It was so good that face to face, he could not tell that this individual was not somebody that he knows personally, face to face.
Mm,
And in the meeting, she takes the mask off and he freaks out. But, obviously all the, Secret Service and everything had to be aware of what was transpiring because
right.
otherwise they'd have tackled her, who are you? But yeah, the president was fooled then, face to face with somebody pretending to be someone that he knew personally. Yeah, that's crazy. That also means that there was like voice manipulation and other
Right.
stuff that's not talked about. But that's how good the technology was for that stuff
Then.
then.
Right. So
Oh,
Kyle,
the stuff
is
we
this
see
how we
now?
can
Yeah.
is this how we can entertain angels unaware?
Right? Apparently you can entertain
You
demons unaware
you
too. I don't
you know what would have been a cool part of this segment, guys, is if we all just would have went like this.
Oh,
know.
I'm Joe. That's Kyle.
But wait,
Gotcha.
there's more. Reach from the other side and pull it off again. You're like,
What was that movie they did that? where they kept like having different face masks on?
I don't know, but
Was it
like
Face
literally
Off or something?
every Scooby Doo episode
Scooby
ever,
Doo.
Mr.
Your life's so like
Jenkins.
Scooby. It's old
Meddling
man
kids.
Jenkins. Yeah.
Oh, too
Oh my
funny.
gosh, dude. But yeah, that was the other thing with that particular guy you're talking about, Kyle, where he showed where um not only with actors who he's saying are the same person and maybe had some slight variations done to them with plastic surgery, but he was talking about he does segments too where he's like,
Yeah,
hey, this is the same person, but they're just literally wearing a mask
yeah.
Mm,
and being someone, pretending to be someone else. And some of those, again, were like, wow, that made me think. But some of them were kind of like, I don't know. But that was,
The
but
one,
like, but if you've ever seen any of the Mission Impossible movies,
mhm,
yeah.
that's like their jam in there, son. Which he
What?
does bring in two of the characters who played in a few movies back together.
mhm.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, yeah, it was very interesting. That's all I'm gonna say. I was like, okay.
Well, that dude that does those videos, one that he did that, if I remember correctly, one of the ones that was really convincing for me was um there used to be a Latina pop star or singer named Selena. She
Mhm.
got
Yep,
hugely popular very fast, and then
was
Bye.
gone.
died.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Well, he did a comparison with her and Jennifer Lopez.
Mm.
Like same mole, same beauty marks, like everything lines up perfectly. Like,
Jenny from the
That's what I'm
block.
saying. Yeah, it was Jenny from the hood, boy. But no, that one I remember that one. I was like, that's what I'm saying. Some of the ones he pulled, I'm like going. Now, there's some out there he does. I'm like, that's a stretch even for me. And I love
Mhm.
the tin-foil hat wearing. I love conspiracy stuff, but I'm like,
oh
some
yeah.
was like, that's kind of you stretching that silly putty a little too thin, brother. So I don't know if that's gonna work or not. But
I can see through it.
uh, yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, I remember the one with Celine and was it Selena? Is that what you
Selena
said?
and Jennifer
Yeah.
Lopez. Yeah.
That one was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, that's
Yeah.
okay, hold on, wait a
Especially if you
minute,
can get like the
something
time
ain't right."
the timings worked out too, where they're like, this person died, and then like next year
Just
this
and
person
then
became famous, or
Oh, oh yeah.
the
And all that stuff lined up pretty well.
yeah,
Yeah.
those are the ones that get a little bit more convincing. When you're like, oh, they're at the same time, you're like, I mean, come on, I mean, maybe.
and let me just say this on that too, if you watched, In Living Color back in the day, Jennifer Lopez was one of the dancers on In Living Color that
Mm,
would
Oh,
come
I didn't
out,
know
like, in between. Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, I learned that a while back. Now people say, "Oh, well, because the way Jennifer Lopez looks now," I'm like, "But, if you go back and watch, old episodes of In Living Color, when Jim Carrey and all those guys were on there together, and she was one of the dancing, the girls that would come out and dance in between I guess, the sets or, in between what they were doing,
that. Mm,
and you look at her then and her now, you realize that, she does look different when she's younger. Some
mhm,
people may look at it and go, "Oh, well, you look at her now." It's like, "No, no, no. Look at her when she was younger, and then look at Selena. There's a lot more closer resemblance
mm,
to that
uh,
person." And she literally went from In Living Color, and then at some point, I mean, like, you're literally a backup dancer or dancer on this, comedy show to literally
seemingly
all of a
come out of
sudden,
nowhere. Superstar.
out of nowhere, all of a sudden, you're on the
Yeah.
scene and it's off to the races from there. Yeah. Just something to think
Mm.
about, bro.
yeah.
Ain't it crazy how all these people never really seem to age very much either, if at all.
Until they hit the cliff, and then they,
Uh huh.
then it's just
Uh
like,
huh.
and done.
Yeah.
And bring in the clone. Bring in the clones.
Right. Mm, 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 mm.
Yeah.
Oh, and apparently that's a thing now that's going to be rolling out before too long. Also, have y'all heard about that?
Mm,
The clones.
Yeah. So they are. I don't even know the word that they use, but apparently they are making lab grown bodies
Hmm. I've heard that.
without brain function, but everything else is working normally as it's supposed to, fully working body suits, right?
Yeah.
Um, that can be used for medical purposes. And what they're trying to do now is they're trying to see if they can implant thoughts and memory and stuff like that. So people
Mm.
can, so they can literally live forever is what they're trying to do. So if they can
Now,
manufacture these skin suits that people can transfer their minds into,
their conscience,
their
yeah,
consciousness.
yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah,
what they're
yeah.
trying to do.
So, we think about this on the darker side because this is what they're telling you. So,
Right.
on the darker side, what if this is basically meat suits for the demons?
Oh, I can't
Because
imagine it would be.
they're always looking for to get out of the dry place to go into the inhabit something that's, a body.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine them being able to construct this meat suit, that's what I call it, a meat suit, to where these demons now have a place where they can place their conscience into, and all of a sudden they could actually pretend to be, let's say we were taking Kyle. Kyle, we're gonna put you in here, but it isn't Kyle. It's a demon that comes in and goes in there, but then the demon's gonna pretend like he's Kyle. Hey guys, how's it going? I'm gonna do everything that Kyle ever did. I'm gonna sound like Kyle, but it's not Kyle. I hate to say, to me, when the
Familiar
Father says,
spirits.
that's exactly right. When we pass on to the other side, it says, what does he take? He says that part goes back to him.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That spirit
You're
of
not
life goes back to
controlling.
him.
You're not controlling that, brother. I don't care how good you are. He said that belongs to me. That's
Hmm.
Right.
coming back this way. So yeah, but
Well, and
again,
the
there's always
danger
an
in that.
alternative.
Yeah, the danger in that is people, communicating with the dead. It could be, oh, I talked to grandma, I talked to sister, I talked to brother, I hear voices from the other side or whatever. And you're like, you might actually be really hearing voices later. And then now people are talking to like AI and like, they'll go and scrub your parent or, whoever passed, they'll scrub all their stuff on the internet. And then like, you can talk to them like on text or even attach a voice to it. So then they're responding how that person would have responded. They're talking how that person would have talked. This is not difficult in today's world. I mean, now, Kyle, these things have to be real, these clones and all these body functions, and they have to like be autonomous. But if you can figure out even a little bit of this, and you already have the AI tech version of like recreating that person's thoughts and mannerisms, and like, oh, Jonathan always puts ha ha at the end of all his text messages. Easy. Hey, how's it going, guys? Ha ha. And they're like, that sounds just like Jonathan. It looks like Jonathan, sounds like Jonathan. How would you know any better, right? And so, I mean, we're not far off from that being a full reality of scary world.
Well, I mean, we already
Yep.
know that they can do DNA splicing and all that stuff. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you can literally, like, if you're having trouble having a child, or even if you're not, like, you can go to a doctor where they will take the stuff necessary to make a baby from a man and a woman, and they can go in there and handpick
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
certain aspects to make sure that you have a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, 6 foot tall baby boy, that, like, they can pick
With blue
those,
eyes.
those specific codes out of the DNA to to create your perfect baby. If they can do that, why can't they take that same information, include the DNA from someone, and literally clone them, right? Create
Mm-hmm.
a version of a new, improved, younger model of that individual that now they claim that it doesn't have brain function to be able to cognitive thought and all this other stuff. But I mean, really? I think it's all
Yeah.
set up for exactly what you just talked about, Joe. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine how the entire world would react if they said, okay, well, we froze Michael Jackson's body and whatever, cryogenically froze him, or Disney or somebody like that, right? And now they have these new meat suits where they supposedly successfully transplant. Now, this is going to be a demon that's operating these bodies, right? Who's very familiar with those individuals and probably
Hmm.
influenced those individuals to their rise of stardom. Imagine the impact those types of individuals could have on the entire world.
Right. Yeah, because the human lens is gone now. That like little bit of like, oh, I can't hurt somebody because like I'm still human. Oh, there's somebody outside the street. I still give them a piece of bread. The demon's like, no, I'm not doing none of that. I'm optimistic mode. I'm going to Man, what's the word I'm looking for?
Optimizing.
Optimizing. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you, goodness. Woo, boy. I need to
Need
optimize my
some
brain.
methylene blue, bro?
There you go.
I need a little AI help on that one. But
Yes.
if they're out there optimizing, so every action has a direct purpose and result. It's like I'm gonna do this because of that. Where like some of these stars, they still had family, they still had upbringing, they still remember. But back when I was a kid, the lights got turned off, or whatever. The demon's like, I ain't have none of that. So let's just go and put another song out. And you're like, how did you put out 7 CDs in 2 weeks? I got nothing better to do. I don't have life. I don't care about anybody here. I just want to get my mission done. So yeah, the amount of evil you could produce, and then these humanoid thingies, right? They get to vote? If you make 2 million of them,
Right.
do you change the election immediately? Hey, 2 million people all voted for the Green Party or the Demon Party, whatever you want to call it. The I don't know. I was gonna say red, but that's one of the colors. The bad guy party, and then they just win because you just created all these autonomous beings that all follow in line and do one mission.
Yep.
It's crazy how that could go anywhere, literally anywhere.
I mean,
Yeah.
can you imagine how many? I mean, because remember, all of they sinned against not only mankind, but they sinned against all of the animals also, right? So imagine how many evil spirits are out there, right? Like
Well,
that.
we know it's 10% of whatever there was, so
Well, right,
but
right.
we don't have a number. We don't know what that means. There's 10% out there, so
So how much if that 10%, all right, let's walk this out for a second. If that
all right.
10% con, that 10% filled a meat suit, right? This humanoid body, right? And but took on the image and the likeness and the essence or being of an individual, right? And you have, I don't know, several million of those that do that, and the amount of influence that those individuals could have. Okay, bring back an Elvis or something like that, right? Like,
Oh,
or or
dude.
or
Let
another
me tell you something.
president.
That if they brought back I was just literally thinking this, if they brought back Elvis and he started singing "Caught in a Trap," that would be have a whole different meaning.
Right.
Caught in a trap.
All right, so then these are going to influence the entire world into pushing that agenda to get as many meat suits available as quickly as possible, so that when the other 90% are released,
Mm,
they ain't even got to enter people. They just go into these bodies,
right.
these meat suits or
No,
whatever,
no free will to worry about.
bro.
Well, the scary part of that, Kyle, is it's probably already
All of it.
happened. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
oh,
probably yeah.
dude, when we
I'm
hear
sure
about a
that
technology, we're already 10 to 20 years behind what they've
2020
already done.
easily. Oh,
And
yeah.
Kyle, before you go any further, explain the 10 and 90% because that's not in our regular canon for understanding. What's this
You
10% number you're talking about?
you
Well, we're
you
on
got it,
Super
big
Channel
dog.
Plus.
You got it. Go ahead, run with it.
All right. So whenever they're saying like, oh, we only have to worry about the 10%. When we go through the Book of Jubilees, it talks about Noah, and after the flood, him and his kids are like, hey, God, there's a lot of demons out here. There's not a lot of us. We need some help. And God always comes through for his people. He's not like, deal with it, suck it up. He's like, oh, you know what? Yeah, that sounds like a tough time. I'll just get rid of him. And then Satan comes in and says, hey, by the way, you did leave me on earth for a job to tempt man and to be the adversary. So it is my job. I can't do it by myself. So they make this little agreement where he's like, okay, you can have 10%. The other 90 are going away and you can have
Yep.
10%. So right now in the world, a lot of people are worried about the demons and all these scary movies and demon stuff. Noah and them boys had 100% of the problem. We have 10% of the problem. So
Right.
we're
And
a
we have
lot
more
better off than they
population.
were. Yeah. We got
We
way
have
more
more of the
people.
population than what they had at that time, so
Yeah,
And
8 to
remember,
8 billion, right?
and in those last days, remember that gate is going to be opened. The floodgates are going to be open for the abyss.
Right.
There's going to be some crazy stuff come out of that thing, man.
Yep. So yeah,
well,
that's
So
where the 10% comes from.
considering the prior pope, the one that just passed away, had went and opened some type of gate, or doorway to something. I'm like,
Nice.
Lord have mercy.
well, he ain't
Yeah.
holding the key to the abyss, that's for sure. So
Right.
No, I'll be quiet about it. So same thing.
Speak now or forever hold his peace.
I mean, we are totally set up. Like this is falling directly in line with the real possibility for those of you who have been preparing for this moment. Zombies are going to be a thing, boys and girls.
Yeah.